Hello friends! Welcome back to our Nier Replicant Let's Play. I hope everyone is doing good today. Hopefully this will be a somewhat less stressful episode than the last one was. Than the last couple, I guess. Probably not. I think that from here on out, we're gonna see the game really trying, arguably too hard, to make us feel really bad. So we'll see how that goes. We need to talk to Devila.
Hey.
Oh, hi. I kinda thought you'd never talk to us again.
I understand you're doing this for the village, and that you don't have a choice.
Pretty much, yeah. But look, why don't you...
I'm headed there next. Oh, and Devila?
Yeah?
Sorry about yesterday. I shouldn't have lost my temper like that.
You don't need to apologize. Let Emil and Kaine know that we're sorry, alright?
Alright.
I'm not sure if I should be skipping through a bit more of the dialogue in this run-through, because a lot of it is going to be the same for the cutscenes, so I guess let me know what you think about that. Hopefully, this will go a little bit faster. I did look up what weapons we still need to get the special Get All the Weapons endings. We only need a couple. We have to complete the treasure map quest where the guy wants us to repair the damaged treasure map.
Popola?
Oh, hello.
Look, I want to apologize for
Stop. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, but neither did you. You're just trying to protect the villagers. And I jumped down your throat for it.
It's very kind of you to say so. Oh, right. Yes, about that. You know about the lost shrine, right?
The temple where...
That's it. Well...
Oh, it was right under our...
But the bridge that leads there is unusable.
So, take a boat.
A boat?
Yes. The canal's finally been repaired. It took a lot longer than expected. I also asked them to provide a boat at the path to the Lost Shrine's back entrance. The ferryman will let you use it free of charge. That should make it easier for you to move from town to town.
Thanks, Popo. I feel like you've done so much for me. I'm really grateful. All right, I'll see you around.
And for the love of everything, be careful.
So we need the damaged map quest. We also need... There's a series of quests in Facade that will end in a weapon. And then we do need to get the 3 weapons from the, series of challenge fights.
The path above the entrance to the shopping district should lead to the boat landing.
Yeah, I know.
How excellent to know the canal is finished. Hopefully this puts our days of running all over behind us.
The faster we can move, the faster we can save Yona. Let's use it as often as we need.
But yeah, there used to be it was DLC for the original Nier. It's called the World of Shattered Memories or something like that. And it's like a series of challenge fights or something.
Hey, you.
That reward you with weapons.
A treasure map?
Yeah, a treasure map. You know, a map that shows you where to find buried treasure. I'm collecting them. My lifelong dream is to
That's an interesting dream.
So that's why I'm looking for a new treasure map or two. If you find one, bring it on over to me, all right?
Okay, we will accept
Sure
that.
thing. I guess I
Because we
should know
need
where
to.
to look for a treasure map before telling the guy sure thing.
One could hardly expect to stumble across...
Old documents, huh?
To the library! But it was it's nice to know that we don't really need to do too much side questy grinding stuff to get the rest of the weapons. We're almost there. So on the last episode, there was a lot to unpack there, and I said I would do it. I also wanted to, before, one, the episode ended up being much longer and involved much more talking than I expected it to. 2, I wanted to do a little bit of reading before I talked about Kaine and sort of her backstory and stuff.
As a fellow toe...
Calm down. I'm sure it had a happy life. Let's see here. Hey, is this a map?
It is, and one with many unusual markings at that. Perhaps this is a treasure map like that fellow was referring to earlier.
Yeah, but it's so damaged I can't make heads or tails of it.
I wager the damaged sections can be repaired. Perhaps the facade Strange Thing store would be able to assist us.
Worth a shot.
Okay. I hadn't talked about Kaine's history that is in, like, supplemental material much until now. Mostly because I wasn't sure if they would redo some stuff with, like, a new localization that would, like, sort of add more context. And it didn't really. They just kind of, basically what we learned, Kaine was, so, okay, let me restart. When we first meet Kaine, she is, like an outsider to the village. Everyone's afraid of her, nobody likes her. And we find out that she is part shade, so we are like, oh, everybody's afraid of her because she's a shade. There's these monsters.
Hey!
That red bag. My pate.
Hey,
Sure has. I've been in charge of this canal since we last talked. Apparently I did a pretty good job with it because...
oh yeah, huh?
Thanks. Still, it's not all Anyway.
So we assume that Kaine is like an outsider to the village to the area, because everybody is afraid of her because she's part shade. And
The Lost Shrine's up ahead. Just
As well as the Shadow Lord.
Let us make haste.
we sort of learn in the last episode with that big novella that we read that there was something before that, like there was something weird, something like quote unquote wrong with her body. Oh, this is new. Okay, so context for this. On the second playthrough, this is like cool, really cool as an idea. What's going to happen as we go into each area, we are going to see the bosses of the area, like the boss shades, and we get backstory on them. And we get to kind of like see their perspective on events. The kind of justification for that is like this second playthrough is supposed to be sort of like Kaine's perspective on events. And because she is possessed by Tyrion, the Shade, she can actually understand the Shades. So not only, surprise, are like the Shades human, some of them can talk and are like sentient. You just can't understand them in your first playthrough. Well, surprise, Kaine could. And now on the second playthrough, we're going to get translation for the Shades. It's all going to be sad to a silly degree. But anyway, we also will find out some of the names of these. So this is Gretel, this weird little suit of armor, who is mourning Hansel, who you killed at the very beginning of the game, that first boss fight. You shove a spear through them. And now this one is left alive, mourning. And we see these little shades come up. And Gretel says, "What do you want?" "Go away, dirty defective swine. I'm not like you, I'm different." So we'll cut back to that on and off as we go through the level. That's kind of how all of these work. We sort of like, between loading screens, I guess, get that perspective. Which is neat. It's very interesting. It's a cool way to do like a second playthrough, almost New Game Plus situation. But Kaine, so she was actually like an outsider of the village before she was possessed by a shade, because something was like quote unquote wrong with her body. And it's a little bit hinted at in that stuff that we read, but I don't. It's like where like Emil is supposed to be gay in this game, and the hint that you get is the quick exchange that he has with Nier, where Nier says, oh, I'm sure you'll find a bride one day, and Emil's like, oh, haha, a bride. I don't really want that. Which, to me, feels very much like a blink and you miss it sort of thing. Which is, like, I guess okay. It's not... I don't think that super informs his character. Although, really, I do think, like, knowing that Emil has a crush on Nier, or is in love with him, because, like, he's saved him from his situation, I suppose. Like, I do think that that actually kind of adds a lot of motivation to Emil, although I guess just seeing him, like, as a savior and as, like, friends also works, so it's not a huge deal. Cut back. You again? Stop bothering me. You can see they're all just kind of sitting around hanging out. Grimoire Weiss has been taken away. Hansel is dead. There's no reason for me to exist anymore. My life is over. Just leave me alone. Apparently we still can't understand the little shades. What? Although Gretel can? I don't know. So similar to how Emil...
Ain't you excited, sunshine?
Ooh, okay.
We finally get to bathe in blood.
Don't talk to me.
I want to kill so bad I can barely stand it.
So occasionally also Tyrion, the Shade, possessing Kaine, will cut in with dialogue as he is conversing with Kaine. So, like, you occasionally hear Kaine talking to somebody during the game. It's kind of implied, like, sometimes it's the Shades you're fighting, sometimes it is Tyrion. It kind of depends on the situation. But again, as I was saying, so similar to how, like, it is hinted at that Emil is gay, the kind of, like, Kaine's body is different and she is sort of shunned by this fearful community is because Kaine's actually intersex. So she was born with a penis. And that's, like, the thing that she thinks makes her a monster. And that everybody at the Aerie finds her very strange, like they think something's wrong with her body. That's why she's bullied. That's kind of what the line by her tormentor of the, like, show it to me was about. Which felt, like, knowing that felt very uncomfortable reading that. But yeah, so Kaine's intersex, and I was trying to, like, find if anybody had done any sort of writing on that as, like, representation for a queer character. Like, you really don't see intersex characters in any media a lot, so I was just curious if anybody had done any writing, and I couldn't find anything between last episode and recording this one. If anybody, like, happens to see anything, please feel free to link that. I found one article in Paste on the Paste magazine website, I think, that was about, like, Emil and Kaine being representations of flawed and struggling queer characters in a way that feels very honest, which was kind of interesting. I don't think the article was, like, super well fleshed out. Just kind of, but that's the one take that I've seen on it. I also went back and between recordings, reread some old interviews with Yoko Taro, the creative director and, like, narrative, like, the writer on these games, and as well as, like, some of the other team members. I don't know exactly what their roles were. I think one of them was the producer, and maybe some other writers, I'm not sure. But the guidebook that I've mentioned before, Grimoire Nier, that came out in Japan only, years ago, 10 years ago, read fan translations of it. And so I, like, went back and found those translations, and it's one, like, just really surreal to read, like, a fan translation of a work, like, a fan translation of a 10-year-old interview that was, I mean, translated 10 years ago as well, and exists
This
now
is
in a
all
Google
too
Doc.
easy.
Like, really surreal, just, like, I feel like the translator made choices in the translation that were, like, very literal, that you wouldn't see in, like, a professional translation. Also, just, like, the wording, like, the narrator, or not the narrator, sorry, the translator, whoever, like, the fan translator, like, clearly didn't really know what to do about, like, the terminology around Kaine being intersex, so the term they used was hermaphrodite, which you would not really hear used today. And the translator also, like, really bizarrely, whenever they talked about women who were on staff of Nier, referred to them as females, which is very strange. Like, I can't imagine anybody saying that during an interview. The female staff members. So, like, really weird translation and, like, trying to muddy through. They also use some, like, abbreviations for strange things. So just kind of going back and looking through that was really a strange experience. But it was kind of interesting. There were some interesting things in the interview. Like, I remembered there being interesting things, and I'm glad I was right. One thing is, they were kind of talking about, like, Emil being gay, Kaine being intersex, and, like, how that is signaled. And one, Yoko Taro was saying, like, there was kind of a discussion between, like, the interviewer and the staff members and stuff, and I think one of the people in the interview was, like, a writer for short stories and stuff. I think they were different narrative people because they would, like, get, like, notes from Yoko Taro about the world that would surprise them, and that was, like, an interesting part of the interview. But when talking about Emil being gay, something they were, like, one person's like, oh, I was really surprised. I thought he had a crush on Kaine because they always camp together, and Yoko Taro's like, no, he just sees her as a sister. He has a crush on Nier, and this is, like, one of those weird things I, like, can't imagine somebody asking now. Oh, they're telling us to turn back.
What's with these guys?
Certainly not your garden variety, Shades.
Their bodies aren't fully functional.
Say, I've heard of this. A cursed area where incomplete shades gather.
Interesting. But somebody asked if perhaps because Emil fused with his sister, that's why he has romantic feelings. He has quote-unquote feminine feelings, according to the translator, for Nier. And Yoko Taro is very adamant that no, that is not the reasoning. Emil is just gay. And when asked about, like, Kaine being intersex, his, like, what, because they're like, oh, somebody, that's mentioned way more directly. It's addressed way more directly in one of the, like, 10 short stories that was included in this guidebook, which is an official guidebook, by the way. It's not, like, some fan work. This is, like, an official product put out by Square Enix. And in one of those short stories, that is addressed way more directly, and so there's a person who worked on the short stories who was talking about being surprised when they read that as, like, a note on the world. And Yoko Taro was saying that, Yoko Taro also felt like it was way more obvious that Emil was gay, but a lot of the fans apparently did not pick that up. But he was also saying, in regards to Kaine, that it's not addressed more obviously in the game because he felt like it was not core to her story. Basically meaning that, like, she's bullied because her body is different, and, like, the how it's different is not necessarily important to it. Which I don't know if I would agree with that. I don't think I would. But he said that somebody asked, like, why make Kaine intersex at all then? And he said that what they wanted to do with Kaine and Emil was to model the world that you, like, see around you. And his, Yoko Taro's response was like, you know, there are intersex people in real life. Like, we maybe don't see them a lot, like, it's not obvious, but they are around, even if there's, like, not a lot of them. So we want to model these people who exist out in the world in our game. Like, we think it adds to the realism of the game to include this. Which is pretty interesting. Like, I don't know what Yoko Taro's, like, morals and politics look like, really. I think he's mostly just an extremely sad man. But that's pretty interesting. That was also his, like, when somebody's like, you know, why... He was basically like, that's also why we, like, Emil is gay, is because there are gay people out in the world. We got another word, yay. And so, like, he wanted to model that in the game. And I think that it is, like, I can't tell, I wouldn't, like, necessarily go to my way to say that Yoko Taro is, like, a champion of representation in games, because if you have any familiarity with Drakengard games, there's a lot of stuff in that game that makes me think Yoko Taro maybe is also just kind of fascinated with things that are, like, quote-unquote taboo. In a way, like... yeah, basically that. There's, like, a lot of stuff in Drakengard that I think, like, in a way, I think he's playing with, like, how much can he get away with in a game with his characters. I will say, though, like, I do think it's hard not to love Emil and Kaine in this game. Like, they are just, like, thoroughly lovable characters. And that is not true of any, like, the characters in Drakengard, as far as I can tell. Like, you're supposed to hate them. They're supposed to be alienating. And Nier is not supposed to be an alienating game. Like, we are supposed to like these characters. So, anyway, it's interesting. It's, like, not a thing you hear about a lot. And to this day, I don't think there's a lot of intersex characters in video games. Very few in any media at all. But yeah, that is sort of Kaine's, like, expanded story, I guess. I do think you can, like, play through the whole game and, like, get the full emotional arc of her character, so I guess that is kind of what Yoko Taro is saying without knowing that, but I think it's also cool to know. I've treated you all poorly. I mocked you, betrayed you, all because you went Gestalt before the change was complete. But after all this, I think I can understand you. I think we can speak as equals. This makes me very happy. I hope we can spend the rest of our lives... What was that? Interesting.
Emil? Look, from now on, I'm going to sleep outside with you.
Why?
I can't accept that you aren't allowed in the village. It's stupid.
So you're staging a protest? Have fun.
Don't waste your time.
But it just feels wrong.
Well, that's really nice of you, but you still don't have to stay out here with us.
Emil.
You got a super important mission. You can't sleep out in the rain. What if you catch a cold? Besides, I like camping with Kaine. Sometimes we sit around the fire and tell stories, or roast...
Emil, that's enough. I got a fucking image to maintain.
So it seems like what's going around here is, like, the, most of the shade, a lot of the, like, the little shades that sort of invade during this boss fight are, like, not complete, like, there's something wrong with them.
Just kick them aside.
The soul removal process did not go as intended, I suppose. I don't know if that's, like, what all the little shades are, maybe. And presumably the one that's actually supposed to guard Grimoire Weiss is like a person of some prestige. Like, I imagine that's a pretty prestigious position. So that's pretty interesting.
This is hardly the time.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were done. Worth noting that not every shade we fight is like gonna have like a full backstory and stuff. Like a lot of the ones like out in the field, in the Northern Plains and stuff, are like relapsed shades that have gone feral. Like a lot of the ones attacking the village, and like it's like shades are still attacking people, they're still killing people, like despite the fact that they are the true humans, quote unquote. Don't you touch them!
What's going on? There's dozens of them!
Stop, little ones. They're too strong for you.
Creatures of the darkness. Lure them to the light.
So
Fetch
now,
to the end, I see.
the boss is trying to protect his new friends, which is a bummer. I am not their leader. It is I who rely on them. It is they who saved me. Stop hurting my friends.
Oh, you're funny. I'm gonna start crying.
That is, so like one of the bigger bummers of this playthrough is not just...
Creatures, you cannot hope to best me.
These little bastards just keep coming.
So Nier can't, like, hear what the bosses are saying, but the thing that is really, like, a bummer is that Kaine can and does not communicate it to anybody. So she kind of knows throughout this playthrough that they are maybe not making good choices. Those are my friends!
This is one stubborn son of a bitch.
Damn it, damn it, damn it!
Hey there, sunshine. You ain't feeling bad for this freak, are ya? Ain't no turning back now. You got a lust for blood. Embrace the slaughter. All we know is the thrill of battle. Ain't that right, Kaine?
But this is also kind of where we get into, like, why do Nier's friends have a harder time? Like, why aren't more people encouraging Nier to make good choices? Well, everyone's kind of dealing with their own shit. Like, Kaine has all of this, like, background on the situation and doesn't share it because, I mean, she's got this, like, serial killer inside of her.
Oh, you're kidding me!
Kaine!
So that's a bummer.
Kaine! Are you alright? Kaine!
I fear there is little we can do for her.
No! Kaine!
What is happening?
It's all over for you, sunshine.
Kaine! Kaine! It's Kaine's shade!
With no other choice, we must strike it down.
Oh wow, a lot of damage. So that also, like, Kaine's backstory gives us a bit more context for, like, if she shows weakness, she might get taken over.
Kaine! Kaine!
Kaine!
I couldn't hold it back. I can't be with...
We're always going to be together, Kaine. If you transform again, we'll just stop it again. As many times as it takes. I don't care how tough it is. We're gonna get you back. I like sleeping outside because I'm with you, Kaine. I'm able to ignore my appearance and keep going because of you. I'm weak, and I'm sad, and I'm lonely. But you make me strong. You're my friend, and I need you. So don't you dare leave me!
All right. Stop crying. And I'm all right.
Over there. And what is this?
It's me. It's got some kind of writing on it, but I don't know what it says.
How remarkably useless of you. Well, let's go ask Popola.
So this sort of sets the stage for Route B.
It's a cipher of some kind.
We're going to be, like, going back
Can you
through
determine
the
its meaning?
back half of the game like we did before,
I think this is
and
the
getting
key
this
to
additional
unlocking the Shadow Lord's
context for
castle.
what was going on with the
Here,
enemies in the
take a
area.
look at this. I wrote down all the words I can understand. This fragment is called the Stone Guardian. Given that you found it in the Lost Shrine, the words must mean something. There are spaces here for 4 other fragments as well. Sacrifice, the Law of Robotics, the Memory, Loyal Cerberus. The Law of Robotics probably refers to the Junk Heap, and the Memory Tree might be the Forest of Myth. But as for Sacrifice and Loyal Cerberus, I don't have a clue.
Not a problem.
Hmm?
If we want to fill in the words, we just run around the world killing every big monster we find, right?
Oh, splendid. By all means, let us undertake a murderous rampage.
They're just shades. Besides, it's the only way to reach the Shadow Lord.
It's a dangerous task.
Yeah, well, Yona's in even more danger.
But how can you even be sure that she's...
Because she is! Right? The Junk Heap and the Forest of Myth, yeah? I'm on my way.
So, knowing what we know now about whose side Devil and Popola are on, to some degree, like, I don't remember all of the context, but it seemed like there's multiple points where Grimoire Weiss says, like, this all seems too easy, this is too convenient. Like, we're definitely being set up here. Like, somebody is setting us up to get these things and go to the Shadow Lord's castle. Presumably, I guess because that's going to, like, something's going to happen with Weiss and the Shadow Lord and going to trigger the put all of the souls back in the bodies thing. It is interesting. Like, I think when we were fighting Devil and Popola, I talked a little bit about, like, I really feel like they're victims in all of this, because I do get the sense that Popola does not want you to do this. She's kind of discouraging you, like, oh, maybe Yona's not even alive. Like, this is, like, how do we really know anything about this? Despite the fact that she's supposed to be helping the Shadow Lord, she's maybe hoping that you give up on this quest, but is not probably directly allowed to tell you not to, or to, like, with anything more firm than that, discourage you. So that's interesting. That's kind of, like, revealing of her, like, knowing her motivations. Like, we can see the purpose of her hesitancy, I suppose.
Please be careful.
But, yeah.
Oh, and listen. About Kaine and Emil. The villagers know how much they've sacrificed, and they're thankful. It's just... they're scared, you know? People can't change overnight. I'll hurry them along the best I can. But can you please give them a little more time?
I'll try.
Okay, so this is what Route B is going to look like. I'm debating going through the Forest of Myth on my own time without recording it. It kind of depends on how much changes. Man, Forest of Myth is such a pain. Let's head there next.
Popola said we might be able to find something in the Forest of Myth.
You will forgive me if I seem less than enthusiastic about such a trip.
I will forgive you, Vice. It's interesting, but, like, I don't necessarily just want to read a book, you know? So I'll probably record it, but whether or not there's an episode that's just rereading all the stuff in the Forest of Myth, we'll see. I don't know. I might, like, look and see how much is going to be different first before I decide whether to actually, like, read through that and record an episode. I might just show off the parts that are changed and that are interesting. So the next episode will, if there's substantial difference in the Forest of Myth, we'll have a full Forest of Myth episode. If not, it'll just be the, like, interesting bits, if any, of the Forest of Myth. Ooh, a giant egg. We can use that to upgrade our Phoenix Spear. And then we'll head right to the Junk Heap after that, or Facade. I think I'm going to save the Airy this time around. Although maybe we do it first. We already know what happens there. I don't know. It'll be a surprise to me as much as it is to you. So, until then, I hope you all have a good day, and take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.